Hey guys, Michael from Copper vs Glass, and in today's video we're going to be looking at some budget smartwatches. Now, why would you want to spend a minimal amount on something that should actually be a more expensive purchase with some really awesome features, really great build quality? Well, just in general to save a little bit of money. If you're not super into smartwatches in general, then going the budget route is a great option. And also if you don't want to spend £300, £400 or even £500 on a smartwatch, you can get some very cheap options that offer pretty much the same functionality at a very low cost. So, let's take a look. Okay guys, so what we're going to be looking at today is 4 different budget smartwatches. Now by budget I mean under £50 here in the UK or around $50 to $60 in the US. Now they're all going to be linked down in that description below, and I will be ranking them at the end of this video from worst to best. So again, if you guys want to pick up any of these for yourself, down in the description is the place to go. Now I'm going to be going over 4 different categories for each of the smartwatches: the screen, features, battery life, and also the price, as at a budget option I think they are some of the most important features to look out for. So first up we have the Idea Pro i8. Now this one is a really good option if you do want to save yourself a ton of money. With regards to the screen, we're coming in at 1.7 inches, 240 by 280 pixels. So it's not the sharpest display out there, but it still does a very good job at conveying the information that's on screen, and you can move around and do everything that you need to. In regards to the actual speed, it can be a little bit slow in regards to touch responsiveness, and the actual OS that's built on board the smartwatch isn't necessarily the best. Now keep in mind guys that pretty much all budget smartwatches don't run any sort of branded OS. So you're not going to find Google's Wear OS or anything like that on these smartwatches. They're going to be running their own software, so it can be a little bit janky from time to time. With regards to the features, you do have a heart rate monitor like pretty much every other smartwatch out there. You've got sport mode to track running, walking, hiking, and tons more. Now you also do have a game mode to play Space Invaders on your wrist for some reason if you're into that, and of course all the sleep tracking that you need. Now it does also give you access to all of your notifications. Yes, it is very simple in regards to what you can or can't see on screen, but at least you then don't have to reach into your pocket to see if it's not something very important, for example. Then again, you can just ignore it. Now for some reason, pretty much all of the budget options on this list have really good battery life. Now the i8 comes in at over 10 hours battery life on normal use with a single charge, and does have a standby time of around 15 hours as well. Now again, don't get me wrong, in regards to the actual speed of the watch and the screen resolution and just how good it is, that can attribute to a longer battery life because again, it's not really sipping too much power. But again, if you do want a smartwatch that's going to last you a full weekend, for example, of light use, then this is pretty much going to do the job. You don't really have to worry about bringing your charger. You can also increase that battery life by minimizing the screen brightness, for example, so overall pretty good. Now with regards to price, the i8 comes in pretty much smack in the middle of that £50 price tag at £24 here in the UK and around $26 to $27 in the US. Is it actually worth that price? Well, find out at the end of this video when I rank all of these smartwatches from 4th to 1st. Next on the list is the Cubot C5. Now this is one of 2 Cubot smartwatches that I was sent out for review, so again everything's going to be linked in that description down below, but as always with all of my reviews here on the channel, even if I get sent something free from a company, I'm still going to give you guys my honest thoughts and opinions. Now Cubot isn't really trying to hide anything with the C5, it's pretty much an Apple Watch. Right down to the shiny back where the heart sensor is on the back there, as you can see. So again, it is a really nice build quality, but if anyone thinks that you're wearing an Apple Watch, you then have to explain to them that actually no, it's a budget option, not as good and not as functional. The screen itself is a 1.7 inch IPS screen. It's clear but not great outdoors, and that kind of follows a trend with all of these budget smartwatches. You're not going to find any really nice AMOLED screens here for great outdoor viewing, so again that's definitely something to keep in mind. Some of the key features is 24-hour heart monitoring, 10 sport modes including running, walking, cycling, plus more. You can also control your music and for it to act as a shutter button for photos within the camera app. Now unfortunately this doesn't use the dedicated camera app on your device, it uses one within the fitness application, so again HDR processing and just in general picture quality isn't as good. Now you're also getting 5 ATM waterproofing, giving protection of around 10 meters, and of course you get all the waterproofing that you need. The battery on the C5 is actually incredible, so you're going to be getting around 15 hours of normal use and around 30 hours on standby. Now that's not with actually kind of reducing the brightness or disabling any features, that's just using it normally day to day, so again 15 hours is incredibly good. You're not going to have to worry about charging it overnight if you do want to go into the next day. And the Cubot C5 comes in at around $39.99 here in the UK or around $45 in the US. So yes, it is on the higher end of that budget spectrum, but in general I think it's actually quite a good option. Don't get me wrong, the software itself isn't necessarily the fastest, but it does give that look and feel of an Apple Watch, which again I know a lot of people are looking for. A lot of smartphone manufacturers are trying to copy what Apple are doing in regards to the look and feel of the device, and the C5 is no different. Yes, it's not as functional, but it looks good, and again you've got those interchangeable wristbands as well, so you can kind of go for that look for any occasion. Now the Cubot W03 was the smartwatch that I was the most disappointed about here in this video. The look and feel of the watch is absolutely incredible. You do have a thin bezel on the screen. The screen itself is only around 1.3 inches, so on the smaller side compared to some of the other watches, but it does have a small bezel as well, which is really nice to see. And I also like the fact that it is round. I'm not a huge fan of those square designs on smartwatches. I like my watches to look like a watch, so for me the round design is the route to go. Now the reason why I don't necessarily like this smartwatch is actually sold as a feature on their website. It only comes in at around 40 grams, so it's super lightweight for workouts and runs, but it doesn't feel very premium. I also couldn't find on the website if it is actually made out of metal or not. To me, the lightness of the actual watch makes it feel a little bit like plastic. Now with that in mind, it is one of the most fitness orientated watches on this list. Now you have tracking for running and even some of the kind of more odd activities like yoga and football, so it can be quite specific with what it offers. You can also do music playback and change the tracks on your device, which will then affect your smartphone, plus some cool features like a stopwatch, find my phone and an alarm, to name a few. You've got IP69 water resistance, so again it's going to be good for around 10 meters worth of water, so if you're going to be out for a run in the rain or sweat for example, you're not going to have any problems. Now battery life is going to be around 7 days on a full charge, so again you're going to get a solid week out of this smartphone, and it comes in at around $19.99 or around $25 in the US. Now yes, it looks really nice and it has a nice screen to it, but overall in terms of the actual materials that it's made of, it's not necessarily the best out there, but it is also one of the cheapest options on this list, so it can kind of be forgiven from that aspect. If you did want to go ahead and buy 2 or 3 of these, you can kit out your whole family, and it's still going to be way cheaper than getting just one Apple Watch. And then lastly we have the Umidigi U Run. Now this one was actually a really big surprise for me. Yes, it has a round screen, which I'm a huge fan of, but also has 2 crowns on there, whereas normally you would find one, and they do have different functions. The screen is actually the smallest on this list, coming in at 1.1 inches and 240 by 240 pixels. Now it is actually the sharpest out of all the watches, so again in regards to how it actually looks, this one done the best in terms of outdoor viewing and just in general day to day. It's got 3 different brightness options as well, so again if you do need to view it outdoors, you're not really going to have too many issues. Now one of the big features of this smartwatch is going to be the GPS that's built in. You're going to have that for tracking your pace, distance, stride, plus a ton more. You've also got 17 sport modes from walking to dance, blood oxygen monitoring and heart rate tracking with an advanced Pixar PPG sensor. Sleep tracking is great with tons of information that you can see, and you also get notifications for drinking water and standing throughout the day. Now you also get 5 ATM waterproofing, which is good for up to 50 meters. So again, if you do need to take this for a swim for example, you're not going to have many problems. Battery life is rated for around 10 days. In real world use though, I was getting around 5 to 6 days. Now for me, I did have the brightness cranked all the way up so that I could view it outdoors, but overall the battery life isn't really something to worry about, although if you go on a longer trip for a week or 2, you're definitely going to have to bring a charger. And this one is also the most expensive on the list at around £46 or $48. Now for me, the price to performance is actually worth it. This one is the fastest one, there wasn't really any lag or any sort of issues with the screen. On some of the ones the frame rate seemed like it was maybe around 20 frames a second, whereas the screen refresh rate on this one did seem like a solid kind of maybe 50 or even dropping to 40 every now and then. Now I know that doesn't sound great when you're looking at smartphones with 90 or even 120Hz screens, but in general it did feel extremely fast. Now all of these smartwatches do come with their own unique chargers, they're all going to use magnets, and you're not going to be able to use any universal cables. No USB-C charging, you're not going to get any wireless charging, so you are going to have to bring and remember that cable everywhere that you go. As far as I can tell though, they do use the same cable, yes it may be designed slightly differently, so again if you do lose it, they're very cheap to buy online. Now another thing to take into consideration is also the app. Now, unlike an Apple Watch or an Android Wear watch that is made specifically for an OS, these ones you have to get an application third party from either the App Store or the Play Store. Now, none of them are actually very good, some of them don't look very good, but the one for the Umidigi U Run was probably the best one. The overall look and feel of the application was great, the features that you have are really good as well, and you can get some really granular detail. So overall, if you're looking for an overall package, well, hold on a second, before I do it from worst to best, I did also just want to let you guys know that if you do want to get a really great smartwatch that is going to work the best, it is best to go with an Apple Watch or even an Android Wear device. Now, on a Galaxy device, for example, you do have the Galaxy Active range of watches as well, so for me, if I was going to be spending the money, I would actually save a little bit longer and get one of those more premium smartwatches. Now, you can get a Moto 360 first gen or second gen for around £100 here in the UK second hand, and that itself, even though it's an older model, is still going to be way better than what you're going to get here with these budget options. However, if it is more fitness orientated that you're into, I would actually get something like this over something like maybe a Fitbit, for example. Obviously with a Fitbit, it's more of a band design. This one, it looks and feels just like a watch, so it kind of has multiple purposes. And if you haven't guessed it already, the order from best to worst is the order that this video was done in. The Idea Pro i8 is the worst one that you can get on this list, the Cubot C5 comes in third, the W03 is second, and then the U Run is definitely my number one choice. Now yes, it is also the most expensive on this list, but like I mentioned, you definitely pay for what you get. And that's going to do it, guys, for some of the best budget smartwatches available. Now, I've also done some previous videos on smartwatches that I will link in that description down below. And if you guys have any thoughts and opinions on any of these watches that I've mentioned, or some of the more premium options, let me know in the comments or on Twitter at Copper vs Glass. If you're not already subscribed, now is a great time to do so. And once you've hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications so you're notified anytime I post a new video here on the channel. I'm Michael from Copper vs Glass. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.